Hey everyone, before I start this video, I just want to apologize for 2 discussion series episodes in a row. It's just that I have been planning this one for a long time, and the one I uploaded last week was more sporadic. I wasn't planning on uploading 2 in a row, but that's just how it turned out, so I hope you guys don't mind. By the way, thanks for the support on my last video, you guys are the best. All the comments and discussions that happened to branch from it were awesome, and I gained a much better perspective and mindset from what you guys had to say about the topics, so thank you for that. Anyway, that's unrelated, so let's get into today's video. .2 is one of, if not the most highly anticipated events in Geometry Dash history. Hype has been building for this update for 4 years now, and though the wait time has resulted in many people losing interest, the excitement for the eventual release of this update is obvious in how the community receives new news about it. However, ever since the announcement of features like Platformer Mode, 2.2 has become quite the controversial update, with many saying it won't be worth it and the features will ruin Geometry Dash. Things like the random trigger have been torn down for being unnecessary and annoying, and as time goes on, 2.2 becomes more and more looked down upon and resented. Some even say 2.2 won't ever come out because of the wait time, and though I think this is an overreaction, as one day Rob will release the update, the community over time has grown restless and has started to turn on the concepts that are going to be released in 2.2. This has left the community in somewhat a divided position. On the one hand, we have people who are excited for the features that are to come, and on the other, we have the people who resent 2.2 and what it stands for. Most people reside somewhere in the middle, I believe, not hating all the features but being against some of them. So who's right? This is a big question, and I think this is the 2.2 dilemma. Will 2.2 actually benefit Geometry Dash when released, or will it mark a new era of inward collapse when it comes to what features are going to be added from now on? Well, that's the question I will be looking at today in detail, as I will be talking about some features that could improve or detract from GD, then go over some other factors that could affect whether 2.2 is an update that is worth it or not. This video is all my opinion, so please keep that in mind while watching, and if you have other thoughts, feel free to comment them and I will try to respond. So yeah, with all that said, let's talk about the 2.2 dilemma. Alright, so the first section of this video will consist of me talking about a few features that I have picked out that I have found that the community overall considers to be lackluster and unnecessary. I will look at them in detail and give my thoughts on them, aiming to determine if they really will be good for GD in the long run, and if they will benefit the overall state of the game. I have chosen 4 of these to talk about, and these will be the random trigger, platformer mode, camera controls, and smart deco. With that said, let's take a look at the features. So, the first feature we are going to take a look at is the random trigger. The random trigger is a pretty self-explanatory addition to the game's repertoire of controls, and it was first released on November 21st, 2017. Though it was quite hyped when first announced, the overall majority of the community today looks at it with slight disdain, which is a perspective that I can't help but agree with. Don't get me wrong, I do think that the random trigger can be used in very cool ways, and it could be a good way to make a whole new vein of levels, where reaction chimes prevail over muscle memory. But I think it would be weird if these get lumped in with all the normal levels that we are used to today. On top of this, the random trigger levels will probably be very annoying when creators start using them mindlessly, as many triggers are used today, and this will likely result in the overall playability of less serious levels to drop immensely as creators experiment with this trigger. I think the community has realized this, and as a result, the random trigger has become one of the main detracting points for anti-2.2 supporters. And again, while some very cool things could be made with this trigger, overall, it'll probably do more harm than good, which is why I think the community is right to be against it and what it stands for. The next feature I want to talk about is a big topic that I think a lot of people like to drag on. Platformer mode was a feature released around October of 2017, and it was instantly met with some immediate criticism and questioning as to what 2.2 was turning into. Platformer mode is a fundamentally different game than what regular Geometry Dash is, and I remember when I first saw it, I was highly concerned as to what this meant for GD. It felt like this was Rob's subliminal way of telling us that he is tiring of regular Geometry Dash and yearns for something different. But personally, I think making an entirely separate game inside of an already finished one is not a very good idea or way to handle this. Anyway, platformer mode is probably the feature that people tend to have the biggest issue with 2.2, and I was 100% with them until about a month ago when I saw this very cool and well-made 2.2 platformer mode adaptation by Omega Falcon. If you want to check that out and play it for yourself, it will be linked in the description. Anyhow, when I saw this, my eyes were open to the potential that platformer mode could have. Imagine a level like this, but with fully decorated block designs and custom backgrounds. Imagine the possibilities of the worlds you can make. Of course, again, this is fundamentally different from normal Geometry Dash, and I think lumping this in with the normal game could be a mistake. But I really think some separate game or some other server with these kinds of levels could be a very, very cool idea. As once you see what Omega Falcon did with the platform mode idea, you can begin to see what creators might make with a functioning editor and a bit more base programming. After seeing this, my view on platformer mode was shifted a bit, but I do still think it is somewhat of a bad idea. However, I am more optimistic about its possibilities and potential. For my next feature, I have camera controls. I have seen a lot of people bash on this concept for how it could be annoying if you can't see ahead of you when playing, but personally, I am all for this new idea. For one, if you are memorizing a level that's actually difficult, then the zooming in isn't a problem, though it could still be annoying for easier levels that you are trying to sight read. And I'm a huge fan behind the levels of immersiveness and depth that can be achieved in gameplay with these new controls. I am personally extremely excited to get to mess around with these new controls and make gameplay that is that much more visually representative of the song. Just think of the possibilities. This combined with the time warp feature could make for some of the most visually accurate gameplay we have ever seen. And these new controls are going to take our gameplay to the next level. If you guys have any thoughts on this one, I would love to hear them, as this is one that I am not sure why the community is so against. Anyway, I hope you can see why I am so for camera controls, and hope you guys are excited for these as I am. The last feature I'm going to talk about for controversial additions to 2.2 is the new Smart Deco that Rob recently previewed. This is a feature that I have very mixed feelings on. This addition will fundamentally change Geometry Dash, and it will make it so creators no longer have to spend stupid amounts of time on block decorations, which is a good thing in some aspects and a bad thing in others. Levels will now not take as long to make, and I think this will allow for creators who just want creator points to make very simple but passable block designs, and still get rated levels. On the contrary, though, I think this could make for very good room for other creators to lay foundations of their block designs, and from there put in the detailed decorations by hand. I don't know if I don't like this feature just because I'm not used to it and I'm just biased to not want to accept things that'll make creating easier, and I might just be overreacting, but I think there is a level of laziness here that will encourage creators not to spend as much time on their levels. Again, I'm sure some creators will use it to get the simple stuff out of the way and do the details themselves and make them varied, but I think a lot of creators will also use it as a way to not put as much effort into their levels. This is again one that I have very conflicted thoughts on, so I would really like to hear some people's opinions on this, so feel free to comment. Alright, so now that I have addressed the main 2.2 features that I think the community considers to be the most controversial, I will talk about some that I and many other people anticipate being some of the best and most hopeful or groundbreaking features to be added. These features are the ones that are going to make 2.2 worth the wait, and I've chosen them with a careful eye towards effectiveness and detail. They are the fixed leaderboards, challenge mode, the improved feature system, and FPS fixes. So, without further ado, let's take a look at them all in detail. The first feature that 2.2 will be very important for is the leaderboard fix. This was one of the very first claims to fame that 2.2 enjoyed, and it is something that we desperately have needed throughout 2.1. The leaderboard has been broken throughout nearly the entire update, and the fixing of it will make players more determined to climb up it and actually grind to have their stats be represented on the leaderboard. I don't know why this hasn't been fixed already, but apparently Rob needs to wait an entire update to fix it. But as long as it eventually gets done, I am not complaining. Something I really hope Rob does alongside fixing the leaderboards and player stats is developing a better anti-cheat to keep no clippers off the top 100 as well, as that is still a huge problem that we have to deal with. RobTop tried to ban no clipping for 2.1, but it was easily bypassed by the developer of the tool, so I hope this time Rob takes the time to make an anti-cheat that will effectively keep hackers out of the leaderboards. If he did implement this along with the fixing of the player's stats, this could be a huge aspect of 2.2 that would make the game much more legitimate and it's fun to attempt to grind and gain stats in, which would keep players coming back to grind and have more fun with it. It would also make the game much less messy, as having one of the core elements of the game not function correctly is not a good look for Rob and Geometry Dash as a whole for new players, and if he got it fixed it would leave a much better impression. All in all, I think it's pretty clear why fixing the leaderboards would be a big factor that would make 2.2 a worthy update, and I'm looking forward to it. The next 2.2 feature I am going to discuss is multiplayer/challenger mode. This is one of the most hyped and anticipated features of 2.2, And though I don't know exactly what it is going to be, it is still a very exciting prospect that could take engagement and amounts of people enjoy this game to the next level. A big problem Geometry Dash has nowadays is that it is almost entirely a single player experience, with the exception of 2-player mode, which requires 2 people being in the same room, which is quite a hard thing to achieve. Because GD is a single player experience, many people lose interest in the game because of how easy it is to get frustrated when you can't beat a level, and how it is quite hard not to lose motivation after a while. However, when it comes to video games in general, oftentimes playing with friends makes the experience more memorable and lighthearted, and this results in players enjoying the game more and coming back to do stuff with their friends who also play. This will mean they have more motivation to play the game by themselves as well, and it's a win-win-win scenario. Rob will get more active players to keep enjoying the game, and the community will have long-lasting top players that can also fall back on the fact that they can enjoy GD with their friends as well as play for themselves. And of course, this means individual players and top players will just enjoy GD more overall. I really hope this shows you guys why I think challenge mode is such an important feature, and though we don't know exactly how it is going to work just yet, I think as long as it is enjoyable and a good multiplayer experience, it will result in numerous benefits to the game and the community. The third 2.2 feature that I think will be very good for the game overall is the improved feature and rating system that has been announced. This is something that I think is really important, as Rob will now be adding a legendary rating, which will likely give more creator points than epic. And with this, I hope he spreads out the way he gives levels featured and epic ratings, because he is very inconsistent and mindless about what ratings he gives what levels now in my opinion. I hope with this new level of rating, we can stop seeing as many creators that grind CP, as that is something I am pretty against, but I touched on that in my last video, so I won't go super into detail here. This probably isn't as important as a factor individually to a lot of people, but I think it's important to recognize the good impact that this feature will have as a whole on the integrity of the creating community. But again, I'm not going to talk about that anymore in this video, as anyone who watched my last video heard me talk plenty about this subject and probably doesn't want to hear it anymore. Just know that I do think this is very important, and I think this will allow for an increase in integrity when it comes to what creators make and what they actually get out of it as CP. The final feature that 2.2 will bring that I want to discuss is the built-in FPS bypass that is going to be implemented into GD with the new update. This will be very important in my opinion, as it will once and for all level the playing field for all players, which will allow for everyone to be equal and there no longer to be an argument that one player has fake skill over the other. And before people start saying that the FPS bypass is now allowed in the demons list so this doesn't matter, yes, I am aware of that. But there is still an ongoing debate as to whether bypass FPS or native 240 is better. And personally, as someone who has tried bypassing as a 240 monitor, I think native 240 is easier than bypass. But, with the FPS auto set in the game, there will be no reason for this debate, and the idea of one player being more privileged than another will be extinguished once and for all, except mobile, of course. This is why I think that the FPS lock that will be added in 2.2 will be so important to the game, and how it will be the final step we need to take to get player equality. Alright, so that's all the features I have to talk about for this video, but I still have one more thing to address. Before I end the video, I want to talk about my opinion on this whole matter, as I can list the features, but it's slightly pointless if I don't actually state my thoughts on the matter as a whole. I really think 2.2 is going to be a deciding moment for Geometry Dash's livelihood and future, as it will, in my opinion, make or break its activity. There are two options for what 2.2 could turn out to be. It could either be a very well-made update with minimal bugs and plenty of features that will entertain players for years to come, or it could be a buggy and poorly made update with features that don't work correctly and don't satisfy the needs of players. Because of the wait time, this update has to be good if Rob wants to keep the game going and bring in old and new players, because if it's poorly made, I know for a fact many players will lose faith in him completely for a final time. This is why I say 2.2 will make or break the game. There will be no doubt that 2.2 will bring players flocking back to the game, but whether they will be there to stay or not depends on if 2.2 is a good update or not. There are many features being added in 2.2 that could very well be extremely buggy, and that change the fundamentals of the game entirely, and this could result in a lot of players not enjoying what they are met with when they come back and check out the new update. On the other hand, 2.2 could be very well made, and we could all be wrong to doubt Rob, but based on his history, he is known for not adding the best features and having the most bug-fixed updates. Then again, this could be the time Rob finally learned, and this could mean he is spending so long on the update to make everything work perfectly. Or it could mean he is just being lazy and the update will be lacking severely. There's really no way to know for sure, but I hope you can see what I mean by 2.2 is the update that will make or break Geometry Dash. With the time that it has taken, there's a lot of pressure for this to be a groundbreaking update, and if it isn't, many people are going to lose faith in the game and its developer, and this could result in the mass quitting and disregarding of the game. Personally, I'm optimistic about 2.2. I'm quite optimistic as a person anyways, but my thoughts tend to lead toward hoping that Rob is spending all his time to make this the perfect update that the game needs to stay alive, and that's what I hope is going to happen. There will probably be a significant amount of people who disagree with this sentiment, and I want to hear your thoughts too. Feel free to tell me what you guys think about this dilemma in the comments. Anyway, I hope you guys can see what I am saying about 2.2, and hope you're all as excited about the update as I am, and are as optimistic about the possibilities that it could bring to this game. Well, that's all I have for this video. I hope you guys understand what I've said about this subject, and again, if you have any thoughts at all about what I just said, just comment it below and I will do my best to respond and see your opinions. It would be really cool if we could get some discussions about this stuff going, because it's a very interesting subject to me, and I've wanted to make a video about it for a long time. I don't have much else to say, except that I really hope you guys learned something new and had your eyes opened in this video, and I thank you all very much for watching this far. If you enjoyed this more than any other videos, you could always subscribe to support me, but no pressure. You guys are the best. Thank you so much for all the love lately. I'm grateful for every single one of you. I really hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you guys all in the next video.